If you want to build confidence and self-esteem, start by setting realistic goals for yourself. I mean goals that you can actually believe that you will achieve, instead of these lofty, crazy expectations and then always feeling like you can't live up to them, feeling like you're behind and you're trying to catch up. I want you to get momentum. I want you to trigger the winner effect, that feeling, that dopamine release of, hey, I'm going to succeed at this. I feel like I can actually do it. Because if you build that traction, already it will be so much easier to take the next step and the next step. It's easy to get caught looking a little bit too far into the future too often. And if you spend a little more time just working on the step that you're currently taking, it'll be easier to get to that big grandiose vision of yours. For example, when I was losing weight, I didn't say to myself, let's get rid of 65 pounds right away. I just said, how about a couple of pounds a week? That's reasonable, right? When I first started meditating, I didn't say, okay, let's meditate every day for 2 hours a day. Or let's try to get to 1,000 meditation hours this month. Instead, I set a very low minimum of 5 minutes a day. And when I felt up for it, I did a little more and a little more and a little more. Any big dream you want to achieve starts with a single step, and therefore I want you to give it the attention and focus that it deserves by making those steps realistic, tangible, and easy to follow through on to get that momentum going. Now, to go hand in hand with this, you need to start practicing self-compassion. If you don't love yourself, if you aren't kind to yourself, it's so much easier to get stuck when you trip up. The moment that you make a mistake, you start judging yourself, criticizing, attacking yourself. And all that does is put you deeper into the ditch and further away from what you want. That inner dialogue needs to be encouraging and supportive, not destructive and resentful and hateful when you don't perform to the standards that you've set for yourself. Unfortunately, a lot of people really do believe that being frustrated at yourself and pushing yourself with raw force and anger is the most successful way to get what you want. But in all reality, when tested over and over and over again, from professional athletes to artists to business professionals, everyone tends to perform, especially over time, much better with positive and constructive feedback that actually helps them get better instead of just shouting at each other or shouting at themselves. And to make this even easier, start surrounding yourself with more positive people. Think about the people in your life who actually encourage you, who support you, who bring you up instead of breaking you down. More time with those and less time with those who tear you up and apart and make you feel like you can't achieve anything. Of course, you can't just cut everyone who's negative out of your life completely. But what you can do is manage your time and control how much influence they have over you. Another thing that you can practice too is just declining any kind of negative or resentful, hateful, just bad language or words that are sent towards you. If people try to bring you down, say no, internally at the very least. Next, a practice that's really undervalued and underutilized, so simple in its nature, learning from your own mistakes and actually breaking down and giving yourself constructive feedback that shows you how to improve and get better with your next move. You can do this at the end of the day. Just ask yourself, what went well and what could I improve on? Just one thing. It's enough. You don't need to write a whole list. It's about taking a little step every day that adds up, and the distance that you cover over time is so much greater than if you have one night a week where you try to think of everything that happened, or worse yet, one a month. What actually blows my mind is that some people only review once a year or quarterly. This is crazy. If you're not reflecting, if you're not measuring your progress, tracking yourself and how you're doing and how you're performing, how do you expect yourself to get better? Only what gets measured actually tangibly over time gets improved. And whether that's a simple method like tracking in a calendar and putting a tick for every day that you did your positive habit stack, or something a little more complicated where you journal and you work through everything, you need at least something to view your progress over time. One of the quickest ways to actually improve your self-confidence and self-esteem is really to take care of your mental health as well as your physical health. So really look at the practices that you have in your life right now. One of the things that helped me a ton was getting up in the morning and just exercising for 15 to 30 minutes, maybe burning like a minimum calorie goal, because it's just about getting momentum right away. You get the blood flowing, you feel better immediately at the beginning of your day, and it becomes so much easier to be productive and to actually get things done. If you want to stack on that habit immediately afterwards, my routine was then following that up with meditation for, at the very least, 10 minutes. Now, of course, as your life changes and different things come up, maybe you want to change that. Maybe you only exercise 3 or 4 times a week. It depends on your personal preference and your goals, but I still want you to consider, how can I use these areas to gain momentum and make it easier for myself to feel great about myself? It's much more difficult to feel insecure when you feel really fit physically, and it's much easier to feel depressed, down, insecure, really criticizing yourself when you're out of shape and you're not even trying. It's obvious, easy to do, but also really, really easy not to do and to miss it. Next, let's begin to challenge ourselves, especially our thoughts, and start asking how we can reframe the negative ones into more positive and helpful ones. Ask yourself, the thoughts that are running through my head, are they supporting me? And the ones that are not, let me break them down and capture them. Something as simple as a thought journal where you write down what you were thinking and then ask yourself, what's a better way to think about this? For example, if you had a thought like, oh, what if I don't succeed at my presentation today? Or what if people laugh at me? Or what if I look like an idiot? Maybe a better way to think about it is, what if I perform really well? What if things go better than I expect? What if I have the time of my life and I'm enjoying myself and I forget about people judging me? The questions that you ask yourself create the emotions that you feel, and it's really this train that just continues with the momentum of itself going forward further and further and further. And the more speed that it picks up, the more momentum, the harder it is to stop it. So if you start spiraling into negative thought patterns and you don't challenge them, if you don't put the brakes on, then they're just going to control your whole day, eventually your whole life. And before I forget, if you want my personal help and support in shifting your mindset, working through all of your negative thought loops, really taking your mind to the next level and feeling like the best version of yourself, then I invite you to jump on a one-on-one call with me. All you got to do is hop over to erafael.com. The link for that is in the description. And over there, you can book a one-on-one session. We'll talk, see if we're a good fit. And if so, I'll be coaching you every week, holding you accountable and supporting you in your growth. Again, if you want to take advantage of that, erafael.com. The link is in the description, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you. This point right here is something that I see all too often, and it's the struggle to accept compliment and praise gracefully. Most people almost kind of resist or fight positive feedback, and that's because they're so wound up and really brainwashed with negative feedback. They're used to getting criticism, but they're not used to taking compliments. If you can start to really allow positive words to sink in as much as you let negative ones do, then it really shifts your perspective a lot, because your mind is filtering out most of the positive feedback and looking for negative feedback naturally, because that's where the threat is. That's where the danger is, right? What's wrong with me? What are all the things that I'm doing poorly? Instead, start looking at what you're doing well more and give that attention, because positivity breeds more positivity. And when people try to tell you that you've done something well, it's time to actually take it in, as well as giving yourself praise. If you're not patting yourself on the shoulder or on the back when you do something well, at least mentally, what are you doing? I mean, positive reinforcement towards yourself is essential, and not giving yourself that positive attention and self-love really is starving you of positive energy. And when you do this, you create kind of a lack and a gap, and for some reason you don't have positive validation loops. Well, of course you're not going to feel good. Of course your self-esteem is going to suffer. A simple practice that I've mentioned many times before is looking yourself in the mirror into your dominant eye, whichever eye you connect with most naturally, and saying, I love you 3 times. You can do that every morning, every night, whatever works for you. And it's crazy, really, the results, even just after a couple of weeks of doing it every day. Finally, I want you to take risks and step out of your comfort zone. Going hand in hand with this as well, you need to believe in yourself. If you don't take risks, if you're too careful, then you can't really overcome your fears. And if you keep staying stuck in the same patterns that you are currently, you're not going to feel good about yourself, because the essence of life really is growth, and human beings are most satisfied at their happiest when they're improving, when they're seeing progress consistently. And if you don't even give yourself the chance to get better, then of course you're not going to feel good about yourself. For that, we require self-belief, and you really need to give yourself that attention and energy that says, hey, I can do this. I'm capable. The opportunity is there, and I'm going to give it everything that I have. I'm not going to hold myself back anymore. Of course, you can build confidence through improving your skills and your abilities, but really, that belief and just trusting yourself, it can't be built without initially giving it to yourself in the first place. The reason why is because if you don't believe in yourself at least a little bit, then you're not even going to take any action, and you're just going to play everything very safe. You won't take any risks, and of course, as a result, by holding yourself back this way, you just continue in the same pattern. But the moment that you say to yourself, even if it's filled with a little bit of doubt, I can do it. Let me try. Let me give it a try. Then it sparks something. It's like this little fire in you, and it's really incredible what that can turn into with time and dedication. I hope that you take this and implement it into your life. And as always, I also hope that you enjoyed this one. And I'll catch you on the next one.